damn phones. Babylons can't crack the code.
This is Bru McCoy. Bru McCoy in the 2019 recruiting class was one of the hottest commodities out there. He was a top 10 player, a 5-star recruit, the #1 athlete in the nation, and he went to one of the best high school football teams in the nation in modern day. He was thought to be the next great wide receiver on the college football level. He had the size, he had the strength, he had pretty good speed, he had all the intangibles to be the next great receiver on the college level, and people thought at USC he was going to be that guy. Fast forward to present day, Bru McCoy has really only played one season on the collegiate level, in which he had 236 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, but that's only one season. He's been in college for a total of 3 years, and he's currently in the transfer portal. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what's happening to Bru McCoy. Before I move on with the video, guys, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, as we are on the road to 10K. Now let's get into it. Bru McCoy was born into an athletic family. His father and mother played at Northern Illinois University. His father played college football and his mother played college volleyball. For his high school football career, Bru McCoy would be a two-way player for modern day. His main position, however, was wide receiver. In his sophomore campaign at modern day, he had 28 receptions for 407 yards and 5 total touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball for modern day, he had 13 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and a total of 6 sacks. He would get more involved with the team as a top passing option in his junior year, in which he had 46 receptions for 770 yards, averaging nearly 17 yards per reception and 11 touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball for modern day that season, he had 23 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a total of 2 sacks. Going into his senior year, he was seen as one of the best players in the nation, and this was going to be his biggest season yet. He was going to be the focal point of that offense. He was going to be the go-to guy. This was going to be the year for Bru McCoy, as he's been on some very stacked modern-day teams, but now as a senior, this is going to be his time to show people what he's really about fully. And he did not disappoint either, as he had a total of 78 receptions for 1,428 yards, averaging 18 yards per reception, and a total of 18 touchdowns through the air. And on the defensive side of the ball, he had 13 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks on the season. The season was so good for Bru McCoy that in that year, he was a USA Today High School All-American and the U.S. Army Player of the Year award recipient. He would end his career at modern day with 152 receptions for 2,605 yards, averaging 17 yards per reception, and a total of 34 receiving touchdowns in his career. With no surprise, as a recruit, Bru McCoy was a top 1 in the nation. In the 2019 recruiting class, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings, he ranked as a 5-star, the #9 player in the nation, the #1 athlete, and the #2 player coming out of the state of California. He had a total of 25 offers coming out of high school from schools such as Texas, UCLA, USC, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, just to name a few. Bru McCoy's recruiting process was actually really interesting, especially later on. And now let's go to the later on part, as he would actually commit to USC at an All-American game on January 5th, 2019, and he would sign January 6th, 2019. He would then enroll at USC on January 8th, 2019, and he would be enrolled there for a little bit, but not even a month, as just a few weeks later on January 24th of 2019, after Cliff Kingsbury, who was supposed to be the offensive coordinator at USC, would leave to take the head coaching job at Arizona in the NFL, he would decommit from USC and he would then go to Texas. He would be a member of the Texas Longhorns football team in the spring practices, but even then, he would not be at Texas very long, as he would transfer back to USC after a very short time at Texas. because he was quote-unquote homesick. He basically just enrolled at USC just to transfer to Texas a couple weeks later, participate in spring practices for Texas, just to figure out that Texas wasn't really the place for him and he wanted to go back to California, so he transferred back to USC. Bru McCoy was supposed to be an immediate impact player for USC in the 2019 campaign, but that would not be the case as he would end up redshirting that season and did not play in a single game. He was supposed to play in every game, but he would not play in any game because, well, he was just sick. He was very sick that year. He had quite a bit of illnesses. Not every symptom was set out, but it was believed that he had the flu, he had strep, and some other sickness that caused him to miss a bunch of time with USC that season. In the shortened 2020 season, we would finally get our first look at the highly touted recruit and hyped up player, Bru McCoy. He would play in 6 games for USC this season, where he had 21 receptions for 236 yards, averaging 11 yards, and 2 total touchdowns through the air. It wasn't the season that some thought, but it was still a decent season all around, and he was still playing some decent football. Although it was not the season that some wanted to see from him, he was expected to have a much bigger role in the offense in 2021. However, that would not be the case for Bru McCoy, as he would not play a game in 2021. He was suspended from the team due to domestic arrest. Bru McCoy would eventually have the charges dropped in late August, heading into the 2021 season. Some thought he would be able to come back to the team because the charges were dropped because of a lack of evidence, but that was not the case as he was still indefinitely suspended for the year. Fast forward to present day, Bru McCoy has officially entered the transfer portal where he currently is at, and his next potential team is currently unknown as he's still in the portal. There is still a chance he comes back to USC to play for a coach like Lincoln Riley, but there's also a good chance that he just straight up leaves USC for a better opportunity or just a new fresh start. In his career at USC, he's only played in 6 games. He's had 21 receptions for 236 yards, 11 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. Bru McCoy has had a career that nobody would have thought he would have had when he was coming out of high school as a top 10 player and 5-star recruit. In 2019, it was supposed to be his true freshman season. He did not play in a single game because of a number of issues, mainly sickness. 2020, his only season he's played in, was the shortened 2020 season because of what was going on in the world and is still going on in the world. 2021, supposed to be a potential breakout season for Bru McCoy, gets sidetracked as he gets suspended indefinitely from the team. His next step is not known on what team he might be playing for in 2022. But wherever he goes, will we finally see the Bru McCoy that everyone was talking about coming out of high school? Well guys, if you made it this far in the video, drop something down in the comments below for future video suggestions, and before you head out, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B. Kelly out.